Real news. Honest and fun political talk weekly on the Line 90.7 FM. If anybody hasn't seen the clips that have been floating around the internet, there has been a quote-unquote Groyper uprising, as those are calling it. They're participating. It's like Pepe's distant uncle, Pepe the Frog. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't even quite get it, but that's what these people that are doing what I'm about to describe call themselves. They're going to these, because Charlie Kirk right now, he does college tours, as we all know, and for Turning Point USA. Last year he did Campus Clash. He went around the country and gave speeches with special guests like Don Jr. and Candace Owens. We had that at Penn State. This year he's doing one called Culture War, where he's going around with Don Jr., Rand Paul, and Rob Smith, and a few other people doing a bunch of campus stops. So he then recently got berated with questions from, like I said, these people that call themselves Groypers. These are people that follow Nick Fuentes. For those who don't know, he is a YouTuber that hosts a show called America First. He has about 8,000 subscribers. He's not what I would call popular, but he has a following, and he's gaining a following through this. He's more far right for sure. He wants to end all immigration to America, and he has some views on race that are a bit like, yikes. I don't quite know what he believes, to be honest with you. I know bits and pieces of it. Some would say he's alt-right. I don't know if I'd agree with that fully, but he's definitely an identitarian to some degree. He was at Charlottesville in Virginia, and he's very keen on exposing, as he puts it, Charlie Kirk. He has been going to these he went to Politicon to try and get into a Charlie Kirk event, and the security there wouldn't let him in. It was at Politicon, I believe, and then he tried to get a picture of Charlie Kirk, but they still wouldn't let him in. And he's saying that that's a violation of his principles, Charlie's principles of free speech. And, you know, because Charlie's known for having these campus stops where he'd have people that disagree with him come to the front line, Q&A, ask him questions, and go from there. And now your Fuentes has instructed his Groyper army, as he calls them, to go into this Q&A line, berate Charlie with questions on touchy matters like Israel, race and demographic changes in America, and a bunch of other things like homosexuality. And these clips have been going around because some say, I'm not saying this, but some say Charlie did terribly. Some say Rob Smith did terribly. And some say these people that are asking the questions are a representation of the growing far-right movement in the right wing. Now, like I said, I'm the president of Turning Point chapter here, so I'm going to give the best analysis I can. And what I will say is I'm worried about two things. Number one, I'm worried that this can make Turning Point look bad to some people. I'm worried about that because there's been a lot of hate on Charlie Kirk online about this from people like or people that have chimed in on this, I should say, or some major right-wing people like Tucker Carlson, Ann Coulter, and Milo Yiannopoulos. At the same time, I'm also worried about a monster that's been created for a long time of the left being far left and identitarian with identity politics, and the reaction to that being a far right version of that. And you could see that possibly happening through stuff like this, because now these people are going up, they're asking questions, and they're being told things that could look bad, like, you know, next question, or you know, they were called racist and homophobic. So, you know, some people are saying, well, wait, isn't that what the left does to us? So these people really aren't these things that you're calling them. And then you're having Nick Fuentes being blocked from events, and that can look bad to some people. And that's what they're saying. So what do you guys think of this?
Oh, I have an opinion. I think Nick Fuentes is using this to grow publicity and trying to like create a larger, really, really far right movement where it's a bit extreme or radical. He's just using this as a...
Dump that. I screwed up his name.
Alex.
I know, I made a boo-boo. I'll just wait a few seconds while it picks back up from the delay. But yeah, I agree totally. I think he's using this definitely to gain attention, and that's what he's getting from it. If you agree with what he's doing or not, that is what he's getting. What do you think, Phil and Alex?
Now, what I feel is that Charlie Kirk isn't as ingenuous. Like he's kind of disingenuous. It seems like you can't on one hand call for free speech and call the left like you know what you will. Like a bunch of pansies and whatnot, and like triggered and all this stuff, while also, attacking, like not refusing to answer questions. And then, if I'm not mistaken, he was also like having people send text messages to him, like responding to that, or like through Twitter, like handpicking it like that.
Okay, I will explain something. At the Ohio State stop, it was a bunch of people asking questions, on an open mic basically. But the very last question, and I know this from experience with Campus Clash, that was a volunteer for the event, and she was reading a question off her phone, and that question was definitely one that was vetted and picked by Turning Point. Whether it was through Twitter or Turning Point told her to ask it, that is what happened, because we did a similar thing at Campus Clash, and everybody kind of knows that, so I'm not revealing a big secret here, but that is one of the ways the Q&As will work.
I feel like there's I feel like they're trying, like, a lot of people are trying to play sides with this. You have the the Nick Fuentes, the right-wingers, the extreme right-wingers, like the Groypers, whatever they call themselves. They're going to stick together and they're going to do their thing. I mean, they're going to do their thing regardless. But I felt like with Charlie Kirk, you can't, like Alex was saying, you can't preach free speech and then like deny people the ability to like either ask questions or just like cut people off. I know I saw a little bit of that with the Ohio State stuff, and then and I had a problem with some of the tweets. I believe that there were a couple of tweets that were like blanket statements, like accusing all of the people that were trying to question as being like extreme right wingers or Nick Fuentes huggers, and like I feel like there was a couple of people that are just legitimately they see cracks in the soil, and they're like, well, we could, it's difficult. It's a difficult thing to gauge, but it's like you have to. I'm a big fan of free speech. Like that's the one thing that I am a big fan of.
Same.
And if I see something that's a little murky or it looks a little fake, I'm probably going to call them out on it. Like, because it's being in Turning Point, that's something that that attracted me to the group. Like free speech, so obviously, there's other stuff like the Second Amendment, capitalism, whatever, but they don't, I mean, but free speech is my biggest, thing. And it looked like they were kind of, I don't know. Did any of you feel the same way, or am I just...
Well, one thing I can say is that Turning Point at the chapter level can sometimes be very different from Turning Point at the national level. And the Penn State chapter here, we're still going to be pro-free speech. We're still going to allow anybody to come to our meetings to ask anything they want, discuss anything we want. We're not afraid to answer questions or to debate any ideas, no matter how good, bad, or ugly they are. And like we did for our censored event the other week, we had an open mic. We let anyone ask any question they wanted to, and it was great. Sargon Hunter took it fine. It was great. And we had a free civil dialogue, and we upheld our principles of free speech. But I will say that if you're not careful with that, you can start to tarnish your image. You can start to not look as free speech as you put on to be to some people. And no matter who you are, you need to be careful of that, especially if you're preaching these principles. And I think, like I said, when you call, okay, I will say some of the people that did ask questions are pretty extreme, even though they had some legitimate questions. But one guy was wearing one of those patches with the skull with a knife in the head. Those are fascist alt-right patches, because I've seen those on alt-right people before. I know that guy is way extreme, and I totally disagree with him, but that doesn't mean you should, call him names and not answer the question or try to interrupt him or anything. Just take it and make fun of him if you really want to, but do it tastefully and attack the ideas and show how wrong he is. I mean, that's the whole point of free speech, is to show people how these ideas are bad, and the best idea will come to the top.
Yeah.
What do those patches mean? Like, what actually are those patches?
One of them is the one he was wearing with the skull. It's a Italian fascist group. I looked it up.
SPQR.
That's a Roman thing, and they've kind of like almost appropriated it. Not sound like a lefty, but they sort of culturally appropriated a Roman thing.
Roman symbol, I guess. Yeah.
And they spun it as some sort of fascist thing. Like, it's really bizarre. And I'm not gonna lie, when I was seeing these clips, I already told you guys I was nervous about two things, but the one thing I did mention was I'm really nervous about, there's a group of people on the right that think identity politics is the answer to our problems, that looking at things through a lens of race is the solution. And it's totally wrong. Milo Yiannopoulos has the best take on this, which is the way to fix Western civilization is not to divide people by race or look at things through race. It's to race isn't going to bring people together. What brings people together is religion. It's bringing back a Christian morality to America, a Christian cohesion that has been responsible for creating some of the best things in the West. Like, the West was built on Christianity. If you like Christianity or not, it literally is just what we're built on. Look at Europe, look at America, look at our laws, look at our Constitution, the Founding Fathers and what they said. We're fundamentally a Christian nation. Even if we have multiple religions, it's still at its core Christian. And as an atheist, I think that's what needs to happen, is a religious sort of evolution or revival. Like you're seeing with Kanye West's new album, Jesus is King, which is an interesting album. I'm not going to lie. I don't like it, but it's still, if he can make Christianity cool for kids, I think that's probably the best thing you can do right now.
I mean, maybe it's a religious thing too, but like I think there needs to be more of like a sense of community, like bringing people together. And if you're trying to and I noticed that if you try to cater to specific groups of people, it's like, in a way, it can kind of be counterproductive to that. It's like I feel like we have to just stand up for what we believe in. And then if people want to get behind us, great. If not, that's great too. Like seeing these people are even like the heads of Turning Point, seeing these people kind of cater to some of these other, these other identity groups per se. Like it feels like you're trying to appeal to certain identity groups. And it's like, well, that identity politics BS is the same stuff we were trying to fight against. Like it's like we're not like black, white, Hispanic, LGBT, whatever. We're supposed to look at each other as Americans. Yeah. And it's like,
yeah, I'm sorry. By the way, that I can't talk much about this Turning Point stuff, but it's because we have some stuff in the works, and I'm their president and campus coordinator. I'm going to be, conscientious of what I say. But I will say, we are working on something in the spring. I've hyped this up for so long, but I will tell you, it's absolutely happening. Like 99% absolutely happening. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but if it doesn't happen through Turning Point at Penn State, it's going to happen through another means. It will happen through some means, some way, somehow. And it will, I think bringing this person will bring out everyone's true beliefs, colors, reactions. It will make a stroke of authenticity on this campus and beyond.
Totally agree. We need that. We need this. You know,
we need this person. Yeah.
Especially over the last couple of weeks, we need. This is like a big injection of what everybody needs right now.
Yeah.
Here in this environment, at this point in time.
And that's what I was gonna say too. Is that we aren't gonna change who we are. If you see stuff you don't like at the national level, you see stuff you don't like at any other clubs or any other groups, what we're doing here at Penn State's not changing. The people who come to our meetings are committed, passionate, true, free speech, American-loving Americans. There's nothing you can say about these people that's inauthentic. Yeah, they're great, and it's not going to change. So that's why I'm very confident about next semester, because the people that we have will love to be involved with that. Do you have any hot takes here, Alex?
No, just keep doing what you guys are doing. I think you're doing a good job, and just be aware of the haters out there and the people that are trying to bring you down. Don't let them. I mean, you guys are doing a wonderful job. Penn State's turning point. Just because the national ones are basically acting like career establishment politicians, the same people that Turning Point was initially created more or less against, you guys seem like you're going on the right track.
Have you guys heard of anything crazy, interesting, or cool that you want to talk about?
Let's see what's in the news section. I think I had some interesting articles. Let's see. We have Beto O'Rourke dropping, but I think we're already going to talk about that at some point. Oh, oh my!
I had to say that real quick. You mentioned Beto O'Rourke.
Oh, why were you shocked he dropped out?
No. He was going to do it eventually.
Oh, what do we have here? Pittsburgh Mayor Peduto and the Allegheny County Chief Executive. They're basically trying to unseat a judge because they disagree with his ruling on their clearly unconstitutional. They had like a local gun ban they were trying to do in Pittsburgh, like an assault weapons ban, which was clearly against preemption in Pennsylvania. They tried to pass that. And basically the judge said you can't do that. It's clearly against the law. So he shot it down. Now the mayor and the Allegheny County Chief Executive, they're trying to unseat him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Let me click on that article real quick. It's been a hot couple of days since the last time I looked at that. But yeah, it's pretty bad. Not surprising. Like, they've been trying to do that stuff for a while. That happened after the place, was the Jewish house of worship called the Circly one.
The synagogue.
Yeah, it was right after the synagogue shooting when they tried to pass all these things.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that mayor over there, he's a interesting character. He loves bike lanes, which that already put me off on a bad foot.
Oh, come on, you love cyclists.
That was his big thing. It's like, no, we really don't need those. Like, bicycle lanes are just terrible, and like in a college town that they could kind of work there, but like no. That's not what Pittsburgh needs. Like, unless you live right next to your work, which most people don't. It's really just a terrible idea. Because it's just taking up lanes that cars could have, and then you're putting bicyclists on there, which, I guess is.
What would you do about the cyclists then? How do you alleviate the cycling traffic?
I mean,
run them over.
How often? How many people even really bicycle?
No, sorry.
How many people really even bicycle all that much?
Like in the city of Pittsburgh though, like how bad is the cycling issue? Like, are there lots of them out there, honestly?
No, like when I went to your house one time, I've seen more cyclists there than I did in Pittsburgh. Like, there's more cyclists in State College than Pittsburgh. Like in some of the really gentrified places, you might find a few of them, and that brings up a whole other conversation. Especially these guys want to make themselves out to be these like super bleeding heart liberals, but the only people who are really bicycling, like 99% of them, are like white hipsters. So who are you really like helping with that?
Speaking of white hipsters, there's a guy on campus that goes around on a unicycle. He's already super hipster, uber hipster, and he dresses all in black all the time. I think you've seen this guy, Terrier.
Probably.
Yeah, he's the one with like the mustache that like curls up.
Ooh, yeah.
And the circly glasses.
Yep. Oh, I recognize him.
And he always wears like a vest, and he's all in black, and he's like he'll look at you. If you look at him, he looks at you, gives you like the stare of death.
He knows, yeah.
He knows that you're looking.
Yeah.
And then I just saw him yesterday, and again today when I went to the bathroom before the show started. He now is all like completely even more in black, and he wears a black thing on his face. Like a kind of like a morph suit for his head, and then he has like a beak coming off of it, so it's like some eyes wide shut sort of stuff going on here.
I want to talk to this guy. He's probably like really fun to talk to. Honestly.
I don't know. I think he's pretty strange.
He could be, but you'll be surprised. He probably has some good input in life, or he probably have some crazy out there opinions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's very like so weird. Like he just like looks at you and he's like, "Oh, there you are." And he came in with his bike this time. Didn't have his unicycle, but he was wearing his. I guess this is a Halloween costume. But the guy is like, "Oh my god!" When you see everybody's trying
to say a statement right there.
Oh
I
yeah.
I hate when cyclists wear all that tight, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Masks. Like if you're, it's cool if you want to bike. Great, just don't be like wearing that weird stuff or whatever. I don't know. It's like.
Yeah, and then you see like they put on these like lotions and like oils and these like sweat protectors. They have these visors. They have all this sort of crap on them.
I hate those the bicycle shorts where and then they get up.
Oh God!
And you're forced and you're trying to pass them and then you're stuck looking at their fruit basket on the way to pass it.
I know.
Like, put it away, please.
And nobody needs to see that.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up. Oh, there's another interesting story from a Lancaster school. Apparently, they had a suicide prevention hotline number like on the back of your student card, but instead of being the suicide prevention hotline, it was an adult phone line, which was on these kids' on their ID cards. So if you're a suicidal kid, instead of calling like the suicide hotline, you're gonna call like one of those adult chats.
Oh no.
Well, that's a way to prevent
depression.
Yeah, exactly. You need to talk to someone, and then you call them, and then it's like, hey there, big boy.
I'll make your day amazing.
Yeah, and you're not gonna want to die after that.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's like a relatively local school. It's like in Lancaster. It's where all the Amish live. Yeah,
I know. I live there. Yeah, it's it's funny. It's funny, Don't kill yourself. You're gonna miss this wonderful time.
And then
for only $2.99 a minute.
The school found out about it, and now they had to go and like reissue new like ID cards to every single student. So that's probably like thousands of dollars. Just
scratch that. It wasn't PA. It was California.
Are there Lancaster, California?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think there's like 5 different Lancasters in the country.
Oh well, that's California. They probably did that on purpose then.
Well, we finally have our super cool special guest in here. Sam Whitfield from the Whitfield Report is back on the line 90.7 FM. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Sir.
Yep, we can hear you. Welcome back.
Thank you. Let me take myself off speaker real.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm actually on the Discord mobile app right now. But anyway, how are you guys doing?
Pretty good. How's it been since we last chatted?
Everything's been pretty good. Hopefully I sent some listeners your way. So
I actually got a few people that subscribed that said, I heard about you guys through Sam. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, Likewise, I got a few subs from you. So,
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Anyway,
Yeah, hot swamp.
Yeah, because
and,
we've gotten a lot more subs since we did this sort of Sargon Hunter thing that's been happening at Penn State. Have you heard anything about that?
yeah, I promoted that the other night on my show for you guys a little bit.
Oh, nice, thanks.
Everything is just really crazy right now with kind of like the kind of like right-wing infighting. And this is actually something that, if you don't mind me promoting, I'm going to be discussing on my show tonight at 10 p.m. I just find it incredibly stupid, especially with this whole Nick Fuentes versus Charlie Kirk versus Steven Crowder type thing, and people are wanting to drag like smaller, commentators like myself and other people in there. And I mean, I don't really know that much about Nick. What I know of Nick Fuentes, but I haven't really like followed him. I know a little bit about Charlie Kirk, mainly from like you guys and from some other people that I've met. He seemed like an amicable guy, and granted, I know that people disagree with him a lot and whatnot, but I mean, I don't know. All this petty infighting is like high school level of shit. And
Terrestrial broadcast.
Double dump.
oh yeah, sorry.
That's all good.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that's cleared and disappeared. Nothing happened.
It's high school level, mud or poo, let's say.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. This whole thing is just dumb.
Yeah, I think. Well, if you don't know much about Fuentes, the one thing I can say about him is he's definitely far right. He has a lot of unpopular views about race that are sort of geared toward more of this alt-right identitarian movement that's in the right wing. I'm not saying Fuentes is alt-right because I really don't know his full beliefs, because I'm so confused, because on the one hand, he goes to Charlottesville, and that had a mix of people for sure, but the big names that did go were the alt-right types. And he also says that he's not a white supremacist. I don't know if I think he says he's not for a white ethno state, but I'm not gonna lie, I just don't know. I really don't know about this guy. He's only got 80,000 subscribers, which is still a good chunk. It's more than our channel, but
Yeah.
he's not Steven Crowder, 5 million YouTube subscribers, or Milo with used to have 2 million like Facebook followers, stuff like that. But what do you think about the whole Turning Point thing is like as a whole? Like, what do you think about like how Turning Point operates on a national level or at a campus level?
Well, I mean, like I said, I can't really speak from, at the national level. I'll be honest, I've heard, varying stories. Like, I've heard great things, about like the top tier brass from some people, like Charlie Kirk. And then, I have some friends who have been burned by, Charlie and those guys too. So I can't speak to them, but like I've met you guys and I've met some other, Turning Point chapter members from across the country. And the one thing that I always try and stress to people, because unfortunately it seems like you guys, and when I mean you guys, I don't mean you specifically, I mean Turning Point, the Turning Point chapter leaders as a whole, it seems like you guys often get labeled as Charlie's yes men. And from what I've observed, it seems like most Turning Point chapters are fairly are fairly independent as far as what they're able to do within reason.
Mm-hmm.
So
I want to actually touch on that because that's important, and I mentioned this a bit earlier, which is what we do at our level is pretty much up to us to some degree. Nationals has some oversight on us, and they make sure, you know, that we're doing good, that we're getting signups every week, that we're tabling, that we're, you know, being active. But what we do at our meetings is up to us. What we do for activism events is mostly up to us. They do, for example, on their website, they talk about this. When you want to bring a speaker to campus, you have to submit a request for nationals, and they have to approve of the speaker before you bring them. So, you know, there is, depending on who your speaker is, there's a chance that they could say, no, we don't want you bringing them here. And that has happened to chapters. But what I've told people at our meetings and what others have told people at our meetings is that regardless of what Nationals does, it doesn't matter if it's good, bad, ugly, whatever, if you like it, dislike it, we're still going to keep doing what we do. We're still going to be very pro-free speech, very pro-America, very pro-capitalism, very pro-everything we've always stood for. Nothing's going to change. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're going to keep doing the events we want to do. Like, and I'll mention this briefly and then talk about a bigger story that I know you're going to have a good laugh at, is our censored event with Sargon, Hunter Avalon went beautifully successful. It was a total victory for free speech. We had an open mic where people could ask whatever questions they wanted to, and our speakers handled them beautifully. And it was a great event. Everybody loved it. Everyone had fun. But what's interesting, this is where I'm going to transition now into the story we were alluding to earlier. UPUA, our student government, has denounced the censored speaking event and its speakers. This is what they sent a tweet. They use that exact phrasing. It says, quote, resolution number 18-4, denouncement of the censored event and its speakers, Carl Benjamin, Hunter Avalon, has been passed unanimously. I was at that meeting, and it was pretty sad to see how the student government seemed to know nothing about these speakers and seemed to just denounce them without any really dissenting opinions, except for one guy in UPUA. Only one guy disagreed with this because he thought they shouldn't be making a political statement. I went because one of their people in their main, I guess you could say, branch, because there's like sort of layers to UPUA, their Speaker of Assembly said on Twitter, quote, very bold and controversial decision by the college them to check notes, say Nazis are bad, unquote. He made a retweet to one of our tweets about the event, advertising it, because we were advertising the fact that the college Dems want to de-charter us, defund us, basically shut us down for hosting these speakers, or specifically Sargon. They just want to shut us down, which is ridiculous, absolutely insane. There's no reason to shut us down for this, and it's pathetic and sad that they want to do this, and I blasted them many times for it because it's ridiculous. We would never do this to them. But to see somebody in student government say, and I'm still confused on this because I couldn't ask questions during the meeting. I could only speak during an open student forum. He either called our speakers Nazis or he called our club Nazis. Either way, that is total slander, total lie, totally false, and a totally uneducated opinion, to say the least. And I brought this up, and a bunch of people pushed back once I started raising this idea. One of the college Democrats who's in UPUA said, this is from a Collegian article, you guys can look this up, quote, I actually find the statement that this legislation is political as offensive. And like I said, because there was one person there that said this was political and we shouldn't be making a statement on this. But he went on to say, quote, my existence is inherently political as a Jewish American, and what these men have said are direct attacks on my identity. Saying I'm sorry, but I don't care about the Holocaust, telling Jews to get over it, telling me that anti-Semitic speech is free speech. I'm sorry, but those are actions that we have to condemn. When has Sargon attacked the Jews? I know what he's referencing, but it's not an attack on this guy or his identity. What's he talking about?
It's just a personal opinion. That's his personal opinion. Just saying somebody should get over something is not it's not like an anti-Semitic statement. It's an opinion. And last time I checked, those opinions are still free speech. And another thing, these guys could have attended the event. They could have
It could have even protested.
yeah, like, look, I'm saying, look, come in. You have a disagreement, talk to somebody about it. Like, you know, like this is what they were doing is pure childish. It's like, how do you map the two together? You have to put some extreme words together to put that mess together. But, you know.
Well, well, the big problem here, and this has kind of become like a meme now, but it's funny because memes do become true sometimes. And this is a key example of the meme of literally everyone I disagree with is a Nazi, right? In the case of the, in the case of like the radical left. And then you do have like right-wing extremists, who say like everyone I disagree with is,
Controlled by the Jews.
A phrase that I can't say, on radio, like an ethnic slur. But, it just goes to like, show that, instead of talking about, things like free speech and, whatnot, we're now getting into this weird stage where we're taking like internet, like chat and lingo, and we're trying to apply it into like, real world IRL stuff now, where it's like, with you guys hosting Carl Benjamin and Hunter Avalon, for example, that one guy was like, Carl Benjamin is a Nazi, and so is the TPUSA chapter, here. Well, is there any evidence to suggest that? No. I mean, I don't know your guys' ethnicity, but I mean, I know that, Penn State is a pretty diverse school, and I know that as far as like the college Republicans go, and Turning Point, I know that there are a bunch of different like, ethnic backgrounds and whatnot. So, the Nazi argument doesn't really hold water there. So,
well, it even gets worse because during that open student forum where I spoke up, somebody from Students for Warren, who was also at the protest of this event, said, quote, "We do not believe in our capacity as student leaders on campus that a white supremacist organization which only spews hate and incites violence should be recognized as an organization. We demand the denouncement of hate speech, introduction of policies to protect marginalized communities, the end of allocation of student fund dollars, and for the dechartering of Turning Point. We're not requesting action to ask for the end of conservative and controversial rhetoric. We're here to fight for the denouncement of hate speech that incites violence." This is probably the craziest part.
Yeah, that's pure slander.
That is so slanderous. We've never incited violence.
That is a textbook definition of slander right there. Calling us a white supremacist organization. First off, we welcome everybody. Every person is welcome to come to our meeting.
Exactly.
Right? Everyone, right? And we have everyone. We have, every identity, including members of the LGBTQ community, at our meetings.
Yeah, we've had Asians come, we've had black people come, we've had people, we've had transgender person, we've had a gay guy. They all come.
Yep.
They're not scared.
No. And if there's something we could do about that, we should. But whatever.
Gonna hate, but here's the thing, like, they're calling you guys Nazis, but they're, not even paying attention to like the actual Nazis. and those people don't even like you guys. They always talk back on you. But you guys get called the Nazis, and you're not even the Nazis. Like, they're completely oblivious to the actual Nazis on campus.
Yeah, and the actual Nazis on campus hate us. We hate them. But like I said, we're here for free speech. So if they want to come to our meetings, they can come, and we're going to show how stupid their ideas are. It's simple. Okay, we don't support them. We don't believe in what they believe in. You know, we make it very clear about this. And anybody that thinks we're Nazis, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. Anybody that thinks that, you're an idiot, because you're not listening to us. You're not trying to understand us. You're literally just putting a blanket statement on us without coming to any of our... That's the thing. Anyone that's called us a Nazi has not come to one of our meetings. They didn't even come to our event either. You know, these protesters, and I said this last week, and I'll say it again. Tyrone and I went out there, and we told them tickets are free. You can come in. You can ask a question during the Q&A. And I think I even said, like, do you guys want to have a dialogue? And this girl literally said no. And I'm like, okay, finally somebody's honest. Yeah, you guys aren't interested in dialogue. You're interested in just shutting us down and taking us down. You're not interested in actually doing anything productive for the country. You don't care. You just want to gain popularity, gain attention, and shut down your quote-unquote enemies. It's pretty sick. It's pretty disgusting. It's pathetic and childish.
Well, I always ask people for first-hand evidence. Like, what is the evidence?
Yeah.
Like that I'm a Nazi, or that, you know, you're... And it's always like, well, I heard it on so-and-so. I'm like, okay, first of all, that's not a primary source. That's like a third-hand source. Second of all, where are they getting their, you know, information? And then, you know, what evidence? And they'll bring up like for example, with my law, like they'll bring up something that is like clearly a joke, but because it's an edgy joke or something that they don't like, you know, that's their excuse. And it's like, well, no, that's not the same thing as like actual Nazism. I don't know if you guys know of the YouTube channel Freedom Tunes.
Yes,
but
I do.
There's a great one. It's I think it's like a year old now or so, but it's where this engineering student like builds a time machine, and he brings back like 3 World War II veterans from like D-Day, and the engineering student says, there are Nazis here on campus, and we need you to go fight them. And the World War II guys are, like, well, where are they? We're ready to, kick butt here. And, they point at the MAGA, Trump students, and it's like, and the World War II guys are like, these don't look like Nazis at all. What's their, crimes? And, the student lists them off, and it's like, well, no, that's what we believe. These guys aren't Nazis at all. In fact, you're the Nazis. So
here, you want to hear something? Okay. So when they decided to call us Nazis, how wonderful of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I decided to look up the actual Mein Kampf, right? The Adolf Hitler book, right? Just for S and G's, right? And come to find out, like as I was browsing through the book, I started thinking, you know what? These Democrats are actually doing more Mein Kampf behavior than we are, and we're getting called Nazis. How do you figure that? Like, look, silencing the opposition.
Yeah. Taking
disarming
guns.
The public.
Yeah.
Disarming the public. Using children to appeal to the public. Right. Like this is Democrat stuff. Right. And I guess it really is projection. It's like that. You know that guy that cheats on the girl, but then he's accusing her of cheating on him.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is like. That's what them calling us Nazis. I feel like that's what it's like.
And it's also very these people keep. I noticed a common thing I kept hearing, at UPUA and other things is that these speakers are a threat to me. They're a threat. If they come to campus, I feel threatened. How? They literally just come on campus into one room, say a few words, and leave. You don't even have to go. You don't even have to be in the vicinity of it. I mean, how are these people threatening? What did they do that was threatening? You were at the event. They didn't do anything that was scary, intimidating, life-threatening. There's nobody felt scared or unsafe there. And if you did, you got some other problems, because it was literally the most free speech, most happy, fun, safe, quiet, peaceful on the inside event ever. Cops were there to keep you safe. I mean, it's just ridiculous that you feel threatened by these people coming. When David Hogg comes to speak, I don't feel threatened. When Beto O'Rourke came, I didn't feel threatened. I mean, these people are pathetic. I'm sorry. I mean, they are insane if they really think a YouTuber that makes commentary, that makes jokes on the internet, is a threat to their safety. Wait till next semester, then, oh man, they're going to be losing their minds.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting and fun.
Oh, it will be. See, that's the thing. We're fun. We're having fun here. We're making jokes, making people laugh. We're making people think. We're not making people feel unsafe. Only these people are. Only in their like crazy minds they think that they're unsafe. And this whole UPUA thing is just ridiculous. And it'll be interesting to see what comes next. But if anybody does try to shut us down, for the next event or whatever, oh man, you are gonna fail miserably, because number one, you can't do that. There's no legitimate ground you can do that on. If you did accomplish that, President Trump is going to pull the funding from this school. And if that happens, Penn State's going to, change their minds real quick and reinstate us. It's really it's a weird time we're living in, because you've never heard this stuff happen before, but it's very telling of what these people are like. They're very mean, spiteful people that just want to shut you down because they don't like you. And that's pathetic. That means that they don't know how to do anything good themselves. Because if they did, they'd be doing it. I don't see college Dems doing anything. I don't see the socialists doing anything. I don't see their speaking events. They're doing nothing except trying to shut us down.
Can I ask you guys a question as a guest?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay, do you guys still have stand-up comedians come on to your campus, or is that done too?
Interesting that you mentioned, actually. We just had Jeff Dunham come a few weeks ago, or last week, to the BJC, which is our kind of mini stadium here. And the Collegiate wrote an article calling him racist.
Really?
This one girl, no one else, literally this one girl who tried to talk smack onto Turning Point's event, also wrote the same person wrote another article on Jeff Dunham.
Yeah, she said we were spreading hate, not conservatism, and she said Jeff Dunham's racist.
It's literally
She's
that
insane.
one person, though. It's literally
It's one person, but I bet you can find lots of people that back her up and believe in what she says.
Well, Jeff Dunham isn't even conservative the last time I checked. But
Look, they're eating their own. They're eating their own. They don't care. It's like, look at Dave Chappelle, right? They went nuts when Dave Chappelle did that last stand-up.
Yeah.
They went insane.
Well, not only that, but I was thinking of this. I'm a few years older than you guys, but I mean, we're all the same age. So I grew up watching Seinfeld, which is a great sitcom still, even though it's 20 years old. And I've watched Jerry Seinfeld's new Netflix show, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. He brought up the fact now that, I mean, Jerry Seinfeld, as far as comedians go, is pretty clean as far as his content, and not even Jerry Seinfeld. What's the deal with so and so? Pick a topic. That was always his bit. He can't even do colleges anymore. Jim Gaffigan, who is also clean, doesn't want to do colleges anymore, just because everyone gets offended about literally everything in comedy
Mhm.
now.
I remember when he talked about that too. And like you said, Jerry Seinfeld isn't what I'd call controversial by any means. Milo's controversial. Jeff Dunham is kind of controversial. Chappelle's controversial now. And the thing too, it's interesting when we mentioned the Chappelle special because we all watched it, loved it. And that,
yeah.
when I saw it though, I'm not going to lie, I didn't think it was that controversial. I've seen worse in terms of like edginess and being provocative. Like I've seen way worse. Because what he says, he always kind of balances it. Like a good example is his abortion bit, where he says something somewhat pro-choicey, where he says like, "Oh, women should be able to do whatever they want with their body, but I should be allowed to leave that baby," or something like that. He says, or I should be allowed to abandon it. And he makes you think a bit, and that's what's interesting with Chappelle's stuff, and it's just. I mean, I'm so annoyed, like, because these past few days, I've learned multiple things, and I can talk about this on your show too, Sam, which is that there are people, whenever you obtain success, there are people that want to take you down, and there's also people that want to leech on your success. They want to jump on it, and they want to, try and, they try to be your best friend right out of the gate. They don't want to, start off with you. They don't want to sort of help you and you help them. It's just like, no, what are you doing for me? It's like crazy.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot.
Mhm.
So,
Because guys like you are great. Like you're totally authentic and genuine. People like Milo are great, totally authentic and genuine. But then there are these other people that you find you're just like, what are their real intentions?
well, and that's not only in politics. That's in life in general.
Yeah.
In every area. But like I said, kind of going back to this whole, like infighting. That's kind of like this whole ridiculous thing of, the left is eating each other, but then kind of like the right is eating each other. That's the other ridiculous thing is like people are getting put into these boxes where it's like you're either a right winger or you're like a left winger, and like I'm like more like conservative rightish, but like I also am okay with like like gay marriage and like
Mm-hmm.
gay civil unions. Like if you're a man and or a woman and you want to get married to someone of the same sex, I don't care. If you want to smoke like a pot plant in like the privacy of your own home or in like a designated area, go for it. But at the same time, like I think you should be able to like own a gun, and I think that you should like be responsible. And while I'm not like for huge taxation, I think that like local taxes that help your community can be helpful too. So just be responsible and don't bother anyone. And I think a lot of people feel that way, and the fact that now it's just become so polarized because of social media and whatnot and the internet, I think is ridiculous. Most people don't talk anymore like we do on podcasts or shows. So,
And I mentioned that in a lot of these interviews when people were talking about, the college Sims want to show you down. What do you think of this? Or what are you trying to achieve from this event? And I would tell them like over and over again, I just want people to listen more. I want them to come in, stop calling us Nazis, stop calling us all these stupid things, and just listen. Just listen and then make an opinion, have a discussion, and we move from there. And we had people that did that at the event. We had people that came in that disagreed. They voiced that. And Sargon especially like pushed back hard. And then they came out thinking, oh, maybe they're not so bad. Or, oh, maybe I'm a bit wrong on this one. I don't know. That's what it's all about right there. That's what free speech is about. But, not everybody believes in that, which is pretty sad.
Why do you think that is? I mean, I have my own theory, but
my theory is control. It's people that want to just control the narrative, control how you think, control what you do.
Yeah, me too. I I mean, like, and I've heard some other theories where, like, some people are like, oh, well, they're not fully aware of what they're doing, but no.
No, I learned
I mean-
that too. After this event, I will say I've heard chatter, I won't say where I heard it from, but I've heard that the college Democrats literally released a statement, not out of what they said in that statement. They released it because they wanted attention. They wanted popularity.
Yeah.
They wanted recognition. They wanted some clout, whatever you want to call it. And that's where I realized these people know exactly what they're doing, and they're just full of it.
Well, they've abandoned like free speech was that was like a liberal thing. Growing up, when I grew up, I thought that like free speech I thought was a liberal thing. And even when we had dinner with Sargon, he's like, yeah, that's a liberal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, but these guys aren't,
they're not liberals, they're leftists.
They're communists.
Yeah, he'd
They're
say communists.
But I mean, it's kind of very communist. I mean, you look at it, but look, let's say even if they are, even if somebody said something offensive, okay, I'm basically going back to the Supreme Court ruling, right? In 2017, the Supreme Court, Matal v. Town, they ruled that there's essentially no hate speech amendment exception to the First Amendment, and I'll read a quote by Justice Anthony Kennedy. Right, he said in that statement, which was a unanimous decision too in favor of free speech. He said a law that can be directed against speech found offensive to some portion of the public can be turned against the minority and dissenting views to the detriment of all. The First Amendment does not entrust that power to the government's benevolence. Instead, our reliance must be on the substantial safeguards of free and open discussion in a democratic society. That is it. And what he's trying to say is basically, we solve our issues through free and open discussion, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you decide is offensive or not offensive, or if you have a problem with something, if you're offended by anything, the way to combat it is with free and open discussion.
Yep, exactly. And
even if you sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's fine. You continue what you were saying.
Even if you have say you have some people that are like blatantly Nazi and whatever, like the worst of the worst, right? You don't want to silence them because it emboldens the opposition. Right, it emboldens them. And it's not, you're not going to silence them totally, right?
Yeah.
Because if you silence them, you take them away, they're going to go somewhere else, and they're going to create an echo chamber, which has a negative reaction.
Yeah,
it has negative long-term effects.
Exactly.
Owen Benjamin. Owen Benjamin.
yeah, that's a perfect example of that. Owen Benjamin has gone off the rails over the past year, whatever it's been. Ever since he stopped going on Crowder's show, he's just been obsessing over the Jews this, the Jews that, and a bunch of wacky conspiracies. He's been gone crazy, and that's what happens is that when you aren't engaging with people that are normal, people that are moderate, you start going more radical because you're stuck in a corner of radical people, and it forms an echo chamber. And that's the issue that we're seeing unfold on a bigger scale. For example, with the Turning Point stuff, where they blocked Nick Fuentes, like Phil's saying, that emboldens Fuentes and his followers. You can say it's legitimate to keep him out for whatever reason. If you want to say that, fine. But the thing I'm noticing is that people on his side are perceiving that as you're subverting free speech, and Nick did nothing wrong, and they feel more emboldened by it. And that's what's happening. Like, I'm not saying that's an opinion. That's literally just what's happening on his side.
Yeah, well, and then if you here's what I would say, because like from what I've heard, of Nick Fuentes, I disagree with like a lot of his stuff, right? But instead of saying that this guy should be shut down, I've always said that, like, rather than trying to shut down Richard Spencer or, shut down, like, some of these more controversial figures who are legitimately alt-right, a better thing would be to do, like, a debate with them, or if you can't do that, like, do commentary, like I've done, like video commentary or something on their rhetoric, and deconstruct why it's wrong, instead of just trying to, shut it down because it's controversial. And I've heard the argument is that, like, well, if anyone sees this content, it could radicalize them. And it's like, okay, well, you're not giving people a lot of credit for, thinking, for themselves. And even if that is the case, it's not like people are going to become radicalized overnight by one video or something like that. Like, there's a whole process. And
the other thing too is, because I've seen people that have gotten radicalized by Richard Spencer and these other folks. What inevitably happens is, if you're going to censor them, you're going to radicalize these people more, So it's like, and these people that, when they do get censored, people that tune into them are only going to tune into them on these, like, obscure corners of the internet. And like, for Gab, for example, the problem with Gab is that it has a lot of those obscure people, and that's it. And all you see is that. So that's all you're exposed to. You're not exposed to, like, the other stuff, like when you're on Twitter and you see, like, lefties freaking out over a Milo tweet, or a Richard Spencer thing, or anyone, even somebody like more milquetoast like Ben Shapiro. Instead, you just get this one obscure side on Gab, and that totally distorts your perception.
Well, and it's interesting that you bring up Gab and kind of the tech censorship, because, like, based on what I know about Gab, like, I have an account on Gab. I'm not really active on there anymore. But the guy who started Gab, to me at least, seems to be more like a libertarian guy. Kind of like us, at least from what I've seen. And the whole idea of that platform, was just to create, like, a Twitter alternative. Like, even Jack Dorsey, when he was on Joe Rogan, acknowledged that Torba seems pretty decent. But the problem is the left, and especially the left-wing media, automatically, labeled Gab as, like, being the Nazi haven. So then where did all the wackos go, to that place? And then regular people like, me, who just wanted to have, like, another platform, it's like, well, shoot, I can't use this platform anymore because I don't want these, crazy Zeke Heil, like 4488 or whatever it is, people, like, in my audience or whatever. So,
well, that's the thing with those platforms, as if you just have, like, an openly, like, free speech platform, you get all these people going to it because the left-wing platforms will just throw them out. So it creates this sort of cycle where, you kind of create these monsters because the left just won't deal with it. And then it scares away people who actually want to talk. So, I hate Twitter. Like, I've used Gab before, but, it's, you can see there's definitely an audience there that, wouldn't be able to exist in other platforms. But that doesn't necessarily mean that people who use Gab are necessarily these, like, bad people.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of the people who are there tend to be that way because that's the only place they can really exist outside of, like, 4chan or something, or 8chan, but they don't even have 8chan anymore.
Well, the other really weird thing about Twitter, and, like, I'm not really opposed to this as, like, a free speech guy, but the one thing that's weird about Twitter is they tend to censor, like, a lot of conservative content. But then, like, I was scrolling through, like, my timeline the other night, and I saw, like, hardcore, like, a gif of, like, hardcore pornography the other night. And I don't, like, follow any porn accounts, but, like, I guess one of my followers, you know, does, and, like, they've retweeted something. So, you know, I saw that. Come to find out that, like, you know, Twitter's policy allows for, like, hardcore pornography, and, like, as a free speech person, I'm like, okay, great, that's awesome, you know, but you know, we can have, like, hardcore pornography, but we can't have, you know, Milo making, like, you know, mildly naughty jokes about something, because that would be too much.
Well, that
So-
does, yeah, like, you know, they think that it's less offensive to go and, like, say something, you know, to have hardcore adult content on there than to say something mildly conservative. You know, it's created by people like left-wing California people, and that's, you know, they don't find that offensive. You know, they don't find, like, you know, especially, you know, alternative, you know, adult content being displayed, especially in places where children can access it. That's, you know, that's fine for them. They enjoy that stuff. They enjoy corrupting the youth. But then you go and see someone saying something like, you know, don't tread on me, or whatever sort of, like, right-wing stuff people say on Twitter that gets them banned. Like, I think Candace Owens got banned for, I forget what she got banned for. It was like,
She did
there's some-
something where she took what somebody said on Twitter about, I think, white people or something, or men, and replaced it with Jews or blacks or something. And it was a genius move, because she got banned for it, but the person that made the previous comments didn't. And,
Oh, yeah,
okay, we're seeing a bunch of people walk through the hub with tiki torches. I'm not even kidding you. After just talking about the alt-right.
maybe they're trying to attack you.
They're going to unite the right guys. Except there's one issue. They're all black. And I'm not even kidding you.
Maybe they're trying to, like, set you on fire.
I don't know. We're fine in here in our little 3-inch glass bubble here. I think it's like a black fraternity or an African-American fraternity or something. But it's just funny.
Isn't that the same thing? I guess you could have Elon Musk in one of them and not the other.
Yeah.
They
I'm being
they could just
inclusive.
be-
I
couldn't-
hate that word. That's just so, like, strange. Like, you know, you don't see that in any other country. You don't see that in, like, well, obviously you won't see that in any other country other than, like, maybe South America or something. But why do we do that? You know, why do we think that's the, like, why are we afraid to go and say black?
I don't
But
know.
we say African American. Like, that's the most, like,
I think it's
you
because
know-
it sounds nicer. And
it doesn't make sense. How do you even, like, that's racist to assume they're American.
that's a
What if
good
they're not?
point. That's a good point. I'll keep saying black. Ban me for it. What were you saying, Sam?
Well, I was just gonna say the students could be holding the torches because it is, like, what, 37 there in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they just want to warm up, you know?
yeah, it's interesting that you say that about race too, because I have ethnic friends who like, I'm like a pasty, you know, white guy pretty much. You know, I'll admit to that. But, like, all my ethnic friends, and these are friends of mine, like, especially, like, my African American friends, like, they will call me the, you know, the word that rappers like to use a lot, and I'll be like, okay, I'm not sure how to, they'll be like, what am I, you know,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, okay, I don't know, and they do it just because, at this point they do it because they just like to see my reaction, like,
Mm-hmm.
how am I gonna respond? Like, that's the other thing, is, like, when ethnic groups call each other, you know, racial epithets, and then, you know,
And even
like-
there, you can see that it's coming from a good place. The intention is just to make you, you know, uncomfortable in a funny, ironic way. It's not to
Yeah.
belittle you or to hurt you or anything.
Yeah, but it's kind of their way of satiring this whole, politically correct stuff now, because I mean we've all been boxed into a corner kind of. So
These people are still walking in with tiki torches. I'm scared.
But
There's
that's an
lots of
awkward
them.
it just puts people in an awkward situation when you have a certain class of people that can say certain things, but you can't. You know.
Well, yeah,
I don't like that.
Yeah, and that's another. Well, that's what somebody brought up at our event. We played that clip last week where somebody came up to the mic to ask Sargon a question, and they were talking about how he used the word lynching. And they're like, "Well, you were kind of joking about lynching." And they're like, "Well, who's talking about lynching?" And they actually did mention it. I just kind of forgot. And she basically said that you shouldn't say that because you don't know what it's like to be black. And Sargon's like, hang on. And he goes, do you know how many peasants were lynched in England? And do you know how many were lynched? And she just goes, I'm American. And he goes, yeah, and I'm English. And it just totally shut her down because he was explaining how you don't have to be black to get lynched. You know, it wasn't just black people that were lynched. It wasn't a particular class. Like in America, yes, that was a major thing that happened to black people during the Jim Crow days. That was were lynched. That's where we kind of associate the term lynching. But you can't say that, oh, you can't joke about that because you're not X or because you're not Y. Well, then that means, by that logic, I, as a straight white male, can't joke about women, can't joke about black people, can't joke about Hispanics, can't joke about anything, transgender people, gay people, anything. It's ridiculous. You don't have to be that person to joke about them. I joke about everything equally, and to not do that is unfair.
I'm gonna, I mean, I know you guys might know this, but for your audience that doesn't, I mean, I'm actually a wheelchair bound person. I'm handicapped. I make wheelchair jokes, self-deprecating wheelchair jokes about myself all the time, and so does every other disabled person I know. And yet, it's always the people who are
not.
I actually had one of these people be like, "You shouldn't make jokes about you shouldn't make disparaging jokes about yourself like that." And it's like, okay, I'm not being a jerk to myself or something. Like I'm making fun of the fact that, like, you know, I don't take myself too seriously, and that's what this all comes down to, is people just take themselves way too seriously these days. I think.
Absolutely. And that's like with that guy from UPUA that was saying, like, you know, because of his Jewish identity, that, you know, it's offensive that they wouldn't make this denunciation or something along the lines. He said something like that. It's like these people are super obsessed with their identity and they're taking themselves way too seriously. I don't care about my identity. I don't, you know, to some degree. I mean, there's certain parts of it I do care about, but like the artificial, or not artificial, the stuff I'm born with, like being a man or being white, like that stuff I don't think about. What was that? You making fun of my manhood? You're fired.
The ironic thing is, like, as far as the Jewish identity thing, I've heard some Jewish people, like, especially when I was in high school, there were some Jewish students who made like jokes about the Holocaust.
Yeah.
That, again, I can't repeat here on.
We have someone like that goes to our meetings.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We have somebody like that goes to our meetings, and it's like, and it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like,
Who cares?
Who cares? It's
well, not
Yeah,
only that,
absolutely.
it's like, geez, dude, like I'm not even Jewish, and I'm offended by that joke. Like that's making me uncomfortable. But, you know, it's like it's his right to say it. But it's like, geez, you know, you're making edgier jokes than, you know, I could even imagine. So.
Well, we're gonna go to
let's be real. It's white liberals that are making these offensive, like, That is totally offensive. That's probably a white liberal.
Yep.
Probably a
Yeah.
white liberal. Anyway.
Rich white liberals too.
Mhm. It's always these bourgeois white liberals that are just obsessed with protecting, their, as they see them, as their little special groups of people, like they're little special kids. Basically, it's like, oh, you can't say this about them. It's like these people need to, just say, screw you. I can take it. Stop thinking I'm not, tough enough to take it, because they can and they do. So it's just pathetic. I found this actually a few days ago. I forgot to mention to you guys. Look at the video in the general chat there. That was the guy that's used to do a show that's friends with one of our guests. I think you know which one I'm talking about, the cosmic one. What is that? Did you see the video?
No, I didn't see the video.
You take a quick look at it. It's short.
Where'd you put that?
In the general chat. I want to get your reaction.
I can't because I'm on a phone, and if I go into like another window, it will boot me off.
Oh, it does? Usually you don't. Usually you can like swipe it down, the voice chat thing, and just move over.
Is that guy a hobo?
I don't know.
Looks like one of them Santa Claus workers that's on his off time.
He's got a bit longer hair growing there than Santa Claus.
I filter and drink my own pee.
Oh, I actually know what video you guys are talking about because I've seen the same.
You see
exact
that?
one.
What the heck is that? It's
weird stuff pops up in my YouTube recommendations, man.
Oh, I was saying.
Yeah.
We came across, I forget how, and I'm just like, what the heck is this? This is the guy I've heard about? Oh my god. Like, how do you grow hair that long and then he uses it as like a drumstick? Like, what the?
It's so disgusting. It was
Yeah,
disgusting.
we had Cosmic Rebecca on, and we were like Sam and I were talking about like good quality, like the mics and the whatever, and so I know Big Al called.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
what Big Al called. He called from his smartphone, and that was actually a pretty good quality there.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We just had a lucky day where the quality was much better than usual. I mean, some people were having really bad connections, but Big Al, I don't know where he's a trucker, so maybe he landed a nice area with some good cell reception, but he sounded great. And I don't know if Cosmic Rebecca took him up on that drink or not, but I know Big Al has followed her on Twitter, so he's really trying to make a move there.
Big Al, what a legend.
He's an absolute mad lad. Legend.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of the Babes for Trump movement? I'm curious.
I'm all for it.
Hey.
So am I. I actually interviewed two of the Babes for Trump like way back when in 2017, and I keep getting requests to have them back on the show. So maybe at the beginning of January of this coming year, who knows? So,
Nice. I'm sure you're gonna see a spike in male viewership on your channel because of that.
Oh yeah,
Totally unrelated.
Although it's weird, I definitely I do have some female audience members too, but they're well, I mean, you guys have seen my chat room before, so it's again, nothing I can really in terms of like language that I can repeat, but it's interesting.
Well,
Even my chat is interesting.
What's funny is we were looking at the analytics the other day, and for our channel, and like if we finally got a breakdown by gender because we have enough videos with enough views and all that stuff with people that let this information get shared, our gender gap it's quite a gap. It is for males in the last 28 days 100%. 100% of the people that viewed our channel in the last month have been male. That is quite a staggering gender gap.
Well, I guess that means T isn't watching our videos.
Oh, caught you.
Come on, T.
I
Yeah.
thought I did.
I
on
thought-
You're
my-
fired
I thought-
again.
Look, oh.
Hey, sometimes I'll comment something and the like. Sometimes I'll like comment below on something. If you see like a
Yeah, and your comments are always very insightful and
Yeah.
supportive, intelligent, and beautifully.
Like, I was hoping that would count, but like I literally go out my way and comment your guys' videos and like.
You
where-
probably have your account set to a male gender.
No, I thought I had
Yeah, you probably do it just to like be like, oh, I'm a male. Because I
it.
can
Okay, maybe
identify
I
as
do that, but maybe I have
Your
done that by
Facebook says
accident.
you're a pineapple.
Never mind. No, gender's a pineapple. I tried changing the pronouns, but I would only do he, she, or it, and I kind of wanted to just might as well do she, but my gender's still pineapple.
Aw, that's so nice. That's inclusive to the pineapple community.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, actually, I should check the analytics right now, see the all-time ones. I didn't realize that was last 28 days, but I was like, wow, we're really bringing in that toxic masculinity, guys. Good job. Bringing the patriarchy back. Woo.
My female audience viewership for my channel went up to 15%. So
Wow.
and I'm like, wait, who are the females watching my show? What are they into? So because my show is very heavy into what the new left would call toxic masculinity. Even though I'm light years away from anything that Larry Flinter company would say. So
Yeah, I know. I know what you mean. So it's like, actually, okay. Am I the only one that's having trouble with any Google product right now? Because Google Docs didn't load at all, and now my channel analytics aren't loading.
Alphabet's out to get you.
Yeah. What the heck? I had trouble.
They're on to you, Sean.
Yeah, we're getting too
That's it.
influential with those 160 subs. Which, by the way, it was so interesting because when we had our Milo interview, we got a good jump in subs. I forget how much exactly, but it got us closer to 100. But the Sargon of Akkad videos jumped our sub count way up to 160. We got, I think, 60 subs from Sargon's content. And then we got a bunch of people joining our Discord server, a bunch of mad lads from England that were fans of him. It was really cool. And obviously Sam helped us out too. And some of our people went over to Sam's. So it's an interesting... Oh, that was annoying. My video started playing. But it was an interesting sort of like crossover that happened. But I that's what I like about YouTube is there is a community there that sort of, migrates from channel to channel and sort of like, builds and grows a new sort of friendship. It's really cool.
yeah, what's interesting about YouTube is like it's not exactly like Facebook. We kind of have to hunt for each other.
Yeah.
But once we find each other, we get linked in, so to speak, and that's not like we don't literally get linked in like the social media, but we get I guess connected. So
I know, and what's interesting too is like I remember when I was following a lot of tech channels, I would find out about these channels through other YouTubers. They would do collabs or they would be featured in a video in some way or somehow, and that's how I'd find out about them. It wasn't through a video coming in and recommended or searching them or anything like that. It was through other people's videos I found other people. So that's like a trick, I would say, if you want to grow your YouTube channel, is to just go on other people's stuff. It's...
Yep, that's what I do.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and you're at over 500, right?
Well, interesting that you bring that up because I was over 500, and then I had an interview with a fellow YouTuber named Hajim from Groypers, and he's a mad lad, and then I lost like 75 subs overnight. Actually. And YouTube's explanation, this is the other thing that they're doing. YouTube will, anytime you see like a dramatic drop in your followers, I contacted YouTube about it. I was like, hey, what's up with this? And they were like, oh, these were all spam users.
Yeah.
That we got.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I understand, like, maybe, 4 or 5, but 70, you're telling me that 75 users are all bots and, whatnot. So, I don't know. That could just be their way of, like, deplatforming subscribers. So,
yeah, I think there's some truth to what they say, but like you said, I don't think it's that high of a number. I really don't think so. And for some reason, all the Google stuff is working on my phone. I checked our channel, which we started on May 17th, 2018. So it's over a year old by now, which, woo, happy birthday for us. Our gender gap, though, is 93.4% male, 6.6% female.
Nice.
Woo! So you are interacting on our channel, just not in the last 28 days.
Oh wow! See, it's showing up. I do watch your videos.
Okay, sure. Yeah, maybe. but yeah, that's funny though. It's
sick. I'm also curious as to like what the age demographics are, because my channel is actually like 25 to like 4. Like, I'm not actually in the 18 or under group. I'm more like in the 25 to 40 demographic.
That's
on
what
my channel.
we are. Yeah, I was gonna say we're in the 25 to 34 demographic too, at 54.4%, 18 to 24 at 26%, and then 35 to 44 at 17%, and everything else is like little to nothing. So we're basically in that 18 to 44.
Yeah. So and then like I have like 2%. I have like 2% that's like over 65. So that's probably like
getting the boomers.
Yeah, they're based boomers though.
Yeah.
So
We don't have any boomers. Oh no. Oh my god. Whoa, this is interesting. I didn't see this. This just changed. Over the past, and it makes sense why, but over the past 28 days, where it breaks it down by country, what country makes up our audience. The United Kingdom exceed the United States, 29% to the US at 28.3%. We got a lot of people, again, because of Sargon. And overall, the lifetime, though, we're at 35% US, 20% UK. So we have a pretty big audience in the UK now. That's pretty cool.
I'm not sure about my YouTube demographics for, like country. I think my channel demographics are still, pretty much in the US. But I know that for Anchor, who hosts my audio podcast.
Yeah, that's what we do too.
I was checking the demographics for that, and I guess 7% of my audience is in the UK, out of like, which is actually pretty impressive. Actually, if you think about it, considering that like my channel is, my podcast is like relatively small, and yet like I almost have like a full 10% in Great Britain. So
yeah,
that's interesting. So.
Yeah. It is, honestly. It's interesting to see how these channels, like, because every channel is different, but ours both seem to kind of have similar trends, because we are in similar spheres and all that, but it's really interesting to see how, we're shaping up, especially as you grow and what you pick up. And what's also interesting is that our top video, I think, is still the Milo interview, or did the Sargon? Oh, the Sargon one did exceed it by watch time at 45,000 minutes, and the Milo one's at 40,000. And those two videos are definitely our, most have the highest ratings. And I was trying to find something else about it, and I can't find it, but it's interesting how like the search terms people use to find those too. But
it's funny that you guys got super popular off of the Milo interview, and then I got famous a couple of years ago. Well, more than a couple of years ago now, for having Ben Shapiro on my show.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
So even though, you know, I've kind of switched teams since then, so
It's funny how these things work out.
Yeah, well, Ben went never Trump and broke my heart, so
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to you about some heartbreak because we're gonna wrap up here, and we'll hop on your show. Thank you for everyone for tuning in to Real News. Sam Whitfield has the Whitfield Report on YouTube, so if you want to see more content with us and with him, that's available on YouTube. Where can people find you, Sam?
you can find me on Twitter. I'm still on there at SamW_NDC. You can also follow my podcast over there at Whitfield Report. TheSamWhitfield.com is my website, and YouTube.com/The Whitfield Report is where you can find the live audio streams. And I've had these guys on the show before, and I'm gonna have them on again. So that'll be good. So, and thank you guys for having me on your show. I don't do terrestrial radio very often, but when I do, I prefer you guys to be my hosts.
Oh,
so.
Thank you. We really like having you on. You're a cool guy,
Yeah.
and we're glad to
Thank
find you.
Good banter.
Thank you. Shout out, if I might, real quick, to Jeff Hamill, who I think works for the college now. But
Wait, isn't he the guy from Soch 119?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Jeff actually used to co-host my old radio show, and he and I met in like a Discord thing a long time ago, and so I know he's working over there. So if any of you listeners are in Soch 119, tell Jeff that Savage Sam says hi. So
I'm about to mention that to him next class. I did not know that was, because I remember you mentioned your Social 19 connection. I didn't realize it was that. But yeah, I know he's right wing, but like he doesn't seem right wing on maybe social issues. I don't know what to say, but like I can tell he definitely believes a lot of stuff that Sam talks about in class.
I don't want to out Jeff.
That's okay.
Knowing
He's
that
outed. It's over.
The cat's out of the bag.
I'll just say this: I think Jeff is a cultural libertarian, and he's a very sweet guy. Everyone I know who's there is always loves Jeff. It's funny because people also think that I'm a Penn State student, and I'm not even. I'm in Florida, but like even me, I've popped in the YouTube chats, and everyone's just great in that class. So, again, shout out to Jeff, and shout out to Dictator Phil, too. Obviously. So.
Yep. Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more Real News.